How did you get into composing for films and TV?
Well, when I was a kid, I was making movies since I was 9 years old. That's all I ever did was make movies with my dad's 8mm movie camera. Now, it's not even Super 8, so it was before Super 8. It was 8mm. And I spent a lot of years doing that, from 9 years old all the way through to college. I went to film school. So film scoring was not something I thought, that's not the thing I thought I'd be doing. I thought I'd be making movies in some fashion. And I sort of fell into film scoring by way of being asked to score a video game one time when I was working at Disney. I was producing video games for them. They ran into some trouble and they asked if I could write the music for this thing because they knew that I wrote music. So I did. And then I was asked to write more music. And then I went over to DreamWorks, wrote more music for them. Steven Spielberg, who was producing the video games over there at the time, heard the music and recommended me for some things. And then J.J. Abrams played the video games that I worked on and scored. And it just sort of snowballed out of, it wasn't a plan. It wasn't anything that sort of happened. It just sort of happened. And then before I knew it, that's what I was doing, was scoring films and TV. And I love it. It's so much fun getting to work with musicians. And as a composer, you're really an integral part of the storytelling of a film. So it really is like being a filmmaker. It's just not the version of the filmmaker I kind of thought as a kid growing up.
And at what stage do you tend to get involved with a film project?
Usually, since I'm really good friends with a lot of people I work with, go visit them shooting. I get to talk about it, for years, a couple of years before the film even comes out. But I don't seriously get involved until usually there's a version of the film for me to look at. If there's a cut, I can come in and look at it and decide sort of what I want to do for that film. And it's the thing that will inform all the music I write, is watching that film for the first time, and making sure I sort of keep track of how I felt while I watched it, what my emotions were, what the film needed in terms of an emotional story or an emotional through line that could help support what the director wants to do. That all happens once I see a first cut of the film.
And then you get to presumably eventually you'll get to the premiere stage. How does that feel to kind of see your score on the film?
It's great, because you're done. The work is done. That's the best thing about it. And it's a little bit like that when you actually get to the scoring stage too. The scoring stage is the most fun part of the whole process because you've spent weeks sitting in a room by yourself writing music and occasionally getting together with the director or the producers to review things. But other than that, you're pretty much alone. It's a very solitary, thing to do, especially for me. I don't have a ton of people working for me. It's just me writing the music. So I'm just sitting there. So when I get to go to the scoring stage with 100 musicians whom I love, that I've worked with for years, that's the best part, getting to work with people who are the best at what they do. And, the musicians, the great thing about a place like a hall like this, like the Royal Albert Hall, is you get to see the greatest musicians in the world. Without these people, I would have nothing, and I have a stack of paper with a bunch of black notes on it that are sort of meaningless unless someone plays them. And the people that play that music have practiced and rehearsed for years. It takes years to get as good as the people that I'm lucky enough to work with to get. They don't rehearse. They just come in, they sight read it, play it. We record it a few times, move on to the next cue. And that always just fascinates me. I'm always just blown away by the fact that someone could just sit down and play. And when they show up in the morning, they have no idea what they're going to play. They don't know the style of music it's going to be. They don't know anything about it. They don't even know what movie it is generally, until they get there. And there's no fear in their eyes because they're that good.
Of course, the project's never really quite done because places like us then decide to go back and celebrate the scores years later.
Yeah, and that's a relatively new thing. We were one of the first to sort of do that with the film Star Trek, the one that was JJ's that was released in '09. We did that in Switzerland, and it was just sort of like, let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can, make this work. And it was one of those things that once you did it, it was like it's a completely different experience for the audience. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it's because not only are you getting to watch the movie that you love, you get to watch the musicians play along with it, and it's right there in front of you. If you just eyes come down from the screen, there's an orchestra sitting there playing, and it's an amazing tightrope that they walk because you can't mess up. You just have to, get it right the first time. You get one shot, and you go through. And I have been amazed all these years at how many times we've done this. and that there's never really been an issue. They just play it, you know. But it is an incredible reminder of what it takes to put music into a film when you watch an orchestra play it like that.
And as the composer, you're in quite a unique situation in that audience. How does it feel? You've seen your films screened here, presumably, that you've scored.
Yes.
How does that feel?
It's the most fun thing about it is seeing other people react, you know. And one of the things I do is always talk to the audience before the movie starts, and I say, listen, you're in a concert hall, but you're here watching a movie. Don't be afraid to react. Don't be afraid to cheer. Don't be afraid to boo the villains. You know, all of this stuff. Have fun here. We want you to have fun. You know, most people come into a concert hall and they feel like they have to be reverent and they can't say a word, and you know, they're afraid to even sneeze if they have to. And I feel like music should be fun. You should react to it. You should, you know, feel free to just show whatever those emotions are that you're having when you're listening to it. So doing the films that way is a really fun way to kind of get an audience to do that. And I remember sometimes watching them, you know, we did Star Trek here, and it is so fun just to see them react to the different scenes as they happen when one character rescues another and everyone cheers. It's such a fun thing. It's like a modern version of opera in a way. It's a very, you know, different sort of experience, but one that's so fun to watch.
How does it feel to see a venue like this transformed into a massive cinema?
There's no better venue than the Royal Albert Hall. It's the best in the world. I've been so lucky to come here many times and perform, and in fact, one of the greatest, you know, things I ever got to do was having my 50th birthday party here, where I had, you know, got to have sort of a review of everything that I've written over the years, but also had all my friends that I worked with to make those movies. You know, all the directors I worked with on those films were here, and they were a part of that. So for us all to be together on the stage at my favorite, you know, hall in the world, that was, I don't know how you ever top that. That'll probably never be topped.
And you had a very special Muppety guest that night.
Yes,
as well.
yes. One of my good friends who is one of my favorite characters on the Muppets. His name is Dave Goelz. He was here with Gonzo, and he performed with us. And that, you know, I still have that as my picture on my Twitter account, because it's like I still look at that photo and go, I can't believe that actually happened. Because as a kid, I loved the Muppets. They meant so much to me. And then as I grew older and started doing work in this business, I got to work with them and then became friends with many of them. And to have Dave come out and perform as Gonzo here at the hall with all of us, I mean, that was beyond special.
So was that a bit of a career highlight, the 50th birthday?
Yeah, it's all downhill from here. That birthday party was about as best as it's going to get, I think. And from here out, it's just hoping that there's something decent that happens. We'll see.
What do you like to do in London?
What do I love to do in London? I love to find as many speakeasies as I can. I love finding these little sort of creative places that people create. I love going to the museums. I love just wandering around in the parks. You know, I love being in the middle of town, and you can just wander to all these different parks and ride your bikes through them. There's no shortage of things I like to do here. It's just one of my favorite places to be when I'm not at home. I love London.
And try and catch a show.
Yeah, actually we do. We come here, and if there's something that's playing, we'll come see it here, and whatever, you know. It's always, we do also the West End. We go there, we see as many shows, and we do. My sister is a theater nut, so almost every night she has tickets for a different show. So just by virtue of her doing that, I get to see a lot of things.
And last up, what have you seen here as a punter that's particularly memorable?
What have I seen here at this hall? We saw, let's see. I can tell you what I wish I saw. I wish I saw Eric Clapton play here. I do. I really do. I've seen last year at Christmas time, we came here and saw the biggest choir I've ever seen in my life. And what were they doing? They were doing Handel's Messiah. And it was amazing. Like that was, and literally to be sitting just above the orchestra too and looking down during that whole thing, that was. And I was told that's something they do here every year. It's like a thing. So I had never seen it before. I had never seen it live. I had only heard that piece on both record, CD, radio. So to see it live, that was pretty incredible. That was inspirational.
And you've got a Christmas show coming up here as well?
I do have a Christmas show coming up, variety show coming up. We're gonna have a bunch of friends stop in. It'll be like an old-fashioned, Bing Crosby style, Christmas Eve, at home with me and my friend Richard Kind. who was the voice of Bing Bong in Inside Out, and also on a million different shows in TV and films. So we're just gonna have a great time. Gonna have a bunch of friends come in, and it'll be silly, fun, emotional, all of those things that you want out of a show.